Hey Delta Chi, this is Jason Sisk with the Delta Chi Educational Foundation, and I have a treat for you. We have tonight, we are talking to four of the attendees of the inaugural A's Academy in 2006. So I'm going to bring them on here and we're going to introduce them real quick, and we're going to get into picking their brains on what happened in the inaugural A's Academy, what kind of skills they learned, and what they brought with them. So let's get to it. So as you can see here, we've got our good-looking group of guys. At our bottom right there is Peter Lane, Georgia Southern '07. And moving around clockwise, down at the bottom there is Bruce Adams. He is LSU '07. Down at the bottom left is Brendan Shields Shimizu. He is Southern California '07. And top left there is Justin Sherman, Central Missouri '08. Excuse me. So I am the old guy in this group. Got a bunch of youngsters that are going to tell us all about something that I didn't get to experience myself. So I want to go around real quick. I want to go around the group, guys. You guys are all very big names in Delta Chi. You guys do so much for our fraternity, and we want to hear a little bit about it. So let's start with Pete. Hey, Pete, tell us a little bit about when you started, what positions you've held, your current position, and just a little bit about your Delta Chi experience.
Yeah, so I joined as a founding father at the Georgia Southern chapter. I held the position of A, B, Brotherhood, and Rush chairman were the big ones. I attended the inaugural A's Academy, was really excited about it. Since then, I became a leadership consultant and director of expansion for Delta Chi. I spent 10 years in the IT executive search industry in Atlanta, Georgia, around the Southeast. And a couple of years ago, I made a career change and went into nonprofit management, and I'm now the director of development for the Delta Chi Educational Foundation. And I love Delta Chi. I've got great friends in it, and it's one of the most worthwhile things I've ever been a part of.
That's awesome. All right, Brendan, let's head over to you. Tell us a little bit about your Delta Chi experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So Brendan Shields Shimizu, Southern California chapter, joined as a freshman in 2003. I served as the F, B, and eventually the A of the chapter. After graduating, I became a member of the Alumni Board and the Housing Corporation, both in Southern California, served as a vice regent in the region, and then also served as the international ritualist for Delta Chi for, I think, about 4 years. Professionally, I am the managing director of a marketing and advertising agency here in Los Angeles, specializing in entertainment marketing and working with brands both within the U.S. and globally as well.
That's fantastic. Thanks so much. Bruce, let's head on over to you. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, definitely. Good evening. This is Bruce Adams, a lifelong Delta Chi, pledged in 2002. Had an unfortunate event, so we had to take a little break from university. So I rejoined as a founding father in 2004, and where I began my Delta Chi, career, if you will, as public relations. Then from there was elected president of the university. I'm sorry, president of the chapter, just right after we were on campus. So it's been a great journey with Delta Chi. Professionally, I began my career with a company called Champion Technologies. We're acquired by Ecolab, and right now I'm the regional technical manager for Ecolab Energy Services in the Gulf of Mexico and Eastern Canada. So South Louisiana, a lot of oil field. I grew up in the oil field, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So here I am.
There you go. There you go. All right, and last but certainly not least, Justin Sherman. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience?
I'm Justin. I went to the University of Central Missouri. Joined in 2003. Was the C and eventually A. Which led me to the 2006 A's Academy. I held a plethora of chairs. Went on to become a leadership consultant in 2008, where I went and became director of, did some expansion and chapter services, risk management. So open chapters, closed some chapters. So I have fans and people who, not so fans of the Delta Chi world, and eventually served as executive director from 2013, 2016, and have served as the Chief Administrative Officer of the Delta Chi Educational Foundation since then. So I do that part-time and currently do some consulting for a technology company.
That's awesome. Well, that's great. Well, thanks, guys, for sharing your current stories and kind of what you're up to and what you've been up to since school. But now the fun part. I really want to hear about what I missed out on. So I want to start with Pete. Tell me a little bit about your experience, and then we'll have Brendan and Bruce and Justin kind of add on what you leave out, what you didn't remember or what you missed out on while you were there. So tell us a little bit about what happened back in 2006 at the A's Academy in St. Meinrad.
Yeah, I remember being elected A in November of 2005 and getting a little postcard that said I was going to go to the inaugural A's Academy, and I thought that was so neat. And I had been involved in Boy Scouts and been to leadership programs, but this was the first time, really, from a business sense and a big networking perspective. It was the first big Delta Chi event I was going to go to. I'd been to regional conferences. I had never been to a convention. This was a neat thing, right? You're going out for this whole chabby. And St. Meinrad is set out in the middle of nowhere. When you get out there, you're surrounded by monks. And so it's already a very reverent setting. We were talking about it before the call started. Technology wasn't what it is now. I think the best phone there was the Razor. And these sandstone walls were this thick, you couldn't get a cell service out there. So there was nothing except talking to the person next to you and across from you, and trying to get to know them. And one of the coolest things that I remember is just thinking every person here knows exactly what I'm going through. And there was no one else that I could talk to about that as the A, with that level of responsibility and demands for your time and attention to detail. And you could open up a little bit and have almost like a conversation that was already going. And you could just start talking. Brendan was one of the guys that I got to know at the academy, and he went to Southern California, a much bigger school than Georgia Southern, but I realized he had some of the same issues that we were dealing with. And so knowing that there was a network of guys that were in it, just like me, was reassuring, and it gave me a network after the academy to call on.
That's fantastic. So let's kind of continue with that. Brendan, tell us a little bit more about your experience. Did you have a similar experience? Was it starkly different? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, everything that Peter just said is almost exactly what I would have said. Very similar experience. I think in the same way I was elected in November timeframe, got the same postcard saying I was going to the A's Academy. And kind of my first three thoughts, one of them I was like, what is the A's Academy? And it was interesting because it never existed before. And so there was no older brother or someone who'd been there before that you could say, hey, what is this? So definitely there was a moment of like, this could be interesting. It could be terrible. And, definitely coming from Los Angeles, it was a long trip to get there. So that for sure was like, oh, God. And then the two other things that kind of went through my mind at the time was, one, Martin Luther King weekend is prime skiing weekend, and I'm a big skier, so I was kind of pissed that Delta Chi put this thing on the prime skiing weekend. And then the other thing was that was spring recruitment for the Southern California chapter. So on the other side of things, I was like, God, I love recruitment, and so I was going to miss recruitment. And then I was also terrified that, of course, the chapter was going to implode during recruitment without me being there. But I think, once I arrived at St. Meinrad, I think very similar to Peter in that, you're meeting all these people. They're the only ones that understand what it is that you're going through. They all have the exact same role that they're trying to fill. And you got to think about it. We're all 18, 19, 20-year-old guys trying to lead chapters of anywhere from 20 to 100 plus people. I have no idea why we were qualified to do that. And I think that, when you start to talk to all the people there and you went through all the sessions, you realize none of us are qualified and all of us are qualified. And that was one of the reasons that the A's Academy actually was started, I think, was to get this group of people together. And really, I learned quite a bit of just talking to people, hearing about other people's experiences, and hearing how they solved problems or just unique things that other people did, which some of which were great. And I was able to kind of go back to my chapter and be like, hey, I learned about this cool way that they do things at this other chapter, so we should try it. And then I think lastly, lifelong friends that we met at the chapters or at the A's Academy. Peter was one of them. Justin definitely was one of them as well, and I got to work with him as the executive director and in his roles as well when I was an advisor too. So it was really awesome just to kind of meet everyone.
That's fantastic. So I think that it sounds like there's a lot of similar experiences, but everybody kind of has a different take on it. So now I'm even more interested to hear Bruce and Justin talk to see what the differences are here. So tell us a little bit about what your experience was like, Bruce.
Well, I'll say this: Peter definitely stole a lot of my thunder, right? And what we experienced. I would say I'm a huge fan of knowledge transfer. It's big. It's sharing of ideas, right? Getting that knowledge across. And I think going there and talking to the other A's, we grow up Delta Chi, but a lot of our day-to-day activity is just within our own chapter at the university, right? But it's so much bigger than that. And so getting to St. Meinrad and seeing these A's from all over the country, it really gave you a feeling of, being part of something bigger than just the chapter. Right, because that's what we see almost on a daily basis, right? You don't wake up and see chapters all over the country. You see your own chapter.
Sure.
So seeing all the other A's there really gave you a sense of, man, this is so much bigger than just a really good group of guys.
Yeah.
At LSU, and there's nothing wrong with the group of guys at LSU, but it certainly gives you that confidence that there's a lot more out there. On the knowledge transfer piece, I think it's huge in talking to those A's. I know a lot of good comments here about seeing how they do it at other universities. I can't echo that more.
Sure.
To see how, that's how you handle this challenge. That's how you were able to drive engagement. That's how you were able to drive philanthropy. All those things were a huge part and big takeaways, right? When after I left the A's Academy, going there, I just felt like, okay, it's me and it's our team, it's our officer board at LSU, and that's it. That's all we got. Coming back from St. Meinrad, just a huge list of notes and great knowledge and ideas from other chapters that I knew I was going to get to take back and attempt to implement at our own chapter. So I would just say that, two big things for me, if I had to compartmentalize it, the two big things for me, the knowledge transfer, getting to talk to the other A's, seeing how they do things and how they overcome their challenges, and just really from a more subjective stance, right? Seeing how much bigger Delta Chi was beyond the LSU chapter. So those are the two big takeaways I had.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for sharing that. Now, Justin, I want you to take this in a little bit of a, fill this in on your experience, of course, but I want you to take this in a little bit of a different way for us. I want you to tell us a little bit more about the technical aspect. What does it look like? The guys talked about some great things that they brought home, but tell us a little bit more about what it looks like. What are the logistics of it? Are you just sitting in an auditorium all day? Are you just one-on-one with another guy all day? What's it look like from that aspect, a day-to-day kind of look at it?
Well, first thing is in 2006, I was like, why would nationals competing on my Martin Luther King weekend,
That's
my
right.
3 days off? Yeah. I'm like, how dare you? And I took a stance. I'm like, I'm not going to go to this. This is a waste of my time. And about 6 days before, my ABT said, either you're going or you're no longer the A. So, okay, I'll go. So I show up with kind of a piss poor attitude, and it immediately dissolved away. I mean, I had never been exposed to anything to that level. I'd never been to a convention. I'd only been to Region 4 RLC, and so seeing and interacting with these other A's, I instantly knew. I was like, wow, this is great. And I didn't know it was like the first time. When they say it's the first time, it's like, yeah, it is, but we don't really know anything differently. It's really how we felt while we were there and the outcomes from that. And the curriculum is it's drafted to facilitate an engagement and like kind of critical thinking. And I think most of us remember the GAP, the goal action plans. I ran back to our chapter and I was like, everybody's filling one of these out. It's just like, I had never, my chapter had never really thought about how can we measure all these different areas. It was just like, oh, we want to be best chapter on campus. We want to win President's Cup. But we really didn't know how to like measure it and manage that. And that's what the A's Academy does, is it sits you down and makes you think like, all right, yes, you were elected for this position. Doesn't mean that you're necessarily fully equipped. That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, gosh, you elected me as A. That means I have all the skills. Like, I'm the best on earth. And walking out there, it was, I gained a ton of knowledge in terms of here's how to facilitate. Here's how I have critical conversations too. I'm not doing everything. I'm helping facilitate other people doing tasks or whatever that may be. And that's really what the A's Academy does, is it teaches you not just to be like a really good A, it teaches you to skills that you're going to bring back and help facilitate with your other leaders.
That's great. That's great. So thanks for sharing that, Justin. That's great, guys. I really appreciate all the input. I really feel like I've got an idea of what that looks like, kind of the types of things we brought back with us. So I want to switch gears. Obviously, you guys brought back some great information on how to run your chapter. You guys were A's. Some of you, some of you felt like, okay, as Brendan mentioned, we're all qualified and we're all not qualified at the same time. And so we brought back a lot of things to build our confidence, to give us knowledge, and to have some knowledge transfer, like Bruce said, where we got some stuff from our other A's that said, we're having exactly the same problem you are. Well, that's a problem we had 3 semesters ago. This is how we fixed it. Or, well, I'm also having a problem. Let's go find somebody else and see how we can figure this thing out together. And so you have somebody that's in the same position with you. Obviously, the shared experiences of ritual and of things like that, we already have that connection when we walk into a group of 100 plus guys. So I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. I'd like you guys to give me, 1 or 2 things, be very specific, but feel free to elaborate a little bit, that you took from A's Academy that you feel helped you in your professional life. So Peter, let's go back to you and kind of start there. Tell me a little bit about, we all know you're our Director of Development now. Previously you were in recruiting. Tell me some things that, a couple of things that you took with you from A's Academy that you use today or throughout your professional career.
Yeah, that's put it that way. Thinking back on how I would have used that in my recruiting career, the goal and action plan was a big deal, right? That was like drilled into us at the Academy of setting your goal, figuring out how you were going to get there, and then planning for it and communicating that plan to get other people involved. And, I was able to also get into a leadership consultant role, and the training that you got from the A's Academy complemented that. And what I would say is those skills are transferable to any profession. And it's working with people, figuring out how you communicate as a communicator, and then what are the strengths of your team, and how do you put all of that together to get done whatever it is you need to get done. Sometimes in staffing, you couldn't figure out who was the right fit for the role, or who needed to call this particular candidate to convince them to take an opportunity, or to influence the hiring manager to make the decision. In all of the volunteer roles that I've had, whether it be with a marketing association or with Delta Chi or with Relay for Life, it doesn't matter what you're doing. you've got to be able to work with other people and to figure out how to work through conflict and resolve something together so that everybody stays together.
Sure.
And you don't have a lot of people going in their own directions. So the A's Academy really kind of forced you to do that. The other piece of the A's Academy was, right, you were strangers to everybody there. Maybe you knew a couple of guys from your regional stuff, but you were forced to build rapport quickly and create friendships. So the first night you get there, there's a welcome session, and then there's a late night session. And by the time you go to bed, you don't go to bed. You stay up talking all night long in the dormitories, and you get up super early the next day. And by breakfast, you've got a group of guys that you feel like you've bonded with.
That's awesome.
And being able to walk into any situation and have that confidence that I've already done that. I know whatever situation I go into, professionally, personally, I can look back on that A's Academy experience and say, I know I can do this. So I think instilling that confidence.
That's great. And I like that you mentioned that you're dealing with strangers. That's something we all deal with in life, right? In any career, at some point you're going to have to talk to a stranger, and you're going to have to bond with them in some way. So, Brendan, let's kick it over to you. I mean, are there any other skills that you feel like you took with you into your career and into your life in general?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, Peter touched on a lot of the stuff, but one of the things that I think is super important that we talked a lot about at the A's Academy is just general communication, but also listening to everyone else and really understanding that, a good idea can come from anywhere, whether that's the A who happens to, have the smallest colony within Delta Chi, or the A who's running the biggest chapter within Delta Chi. And I think that's definitely something that I have taken into my career. I work in a highly collaborative company, and the ideas that we're going to our clients with or our colleagues with, they can be started by the most junior person, the person who maybe just graduated college. It can also be the CEO of the company. And the idea that the CEO of the company comes up with can be made better by the idea or something that the young guy is suggesting for that. And so I think that at the A's Academy, we talked a lot about the fact that each one of us is leading a chapter of a number of different people. They're in different majors. They come from different backgrounds. They have different ideas and ways that they look at the world. And that's really what made each chapter unique. And that's what makes Delta Chi as a whole a great place, because everyone comes together to form Delta Chi. And so I think that that's definitely something that I've taken into my professional career of my company is composed of a number of different people, all of whom make us unique and make us our own. And it's something that we talked a lot about at the A's Academy, and something that I've really found throughout my entire career has been true and has made us better.
That's fantastic. And I love that you hit on kind of the diversity of our chapters and the diversity of our organization. I was actually had someone say to me the other day that Delta Chi doesn't have a specific identity because we kind of just bring everyone together. And you see one organization he labeled as the jocks, and another one is something else, and another one is something else, and that's kind of what they are. And Delta Chi is really just all walks of life, all different types of degrees and backgrounds and that type of thing, and I love that about it. So, Bruce, fill us in a little bit on your professional career and kind of what helped you from A's Academy that you brought with you.
Definitely, and I'll say this: a lot of things happened at A's Academy. I like to call out to late nights at a TV room in one of the dormitories in St. Minor, and I can remember sitting with about 15 other A's and just staying up late and just talking about all the different things that bring us together and how different A's do different things. And again, I mean, I can't tell you what I had for breakfast yesterday, but I can tell you I was in that TV room talking to the A's and the other A's, and it was great memories. One of the ones that I'll always take with me, it was an exercise we did about task management, right? And how much time you're going to put into a task, and it showed to you if we all try to be muscular A's, right? We're going to do everything 110%, and what you realize when you try to do everything 110%, you do everything about 10%, right? It's just impossible. And you think of A's today, you got home life, you got the A's academic career, you got the officer's academic career, you got what's the chapter GPA? Okay, now you got what are we doing for homecoming? What are we doing for philanthropy? All these things, and if you try to pour 100% into everything, you learn that while that represents all the best intentions, it doesn't produce good fruit, right? It's not fruitful. It doesn't produce good results. So you learn how to, let's rank things in priority. Let's give a little more attention to this. Let's delegate that, right? And I think that that task about, okay, what do we need to get our hands on? What things we can delegate paid huge dividends for my professional career, because to this day I still do it. If I tried to put my hands in every single cookie pot that showed up in front of me, I would lose my mind pretty quickly. You learn, okay, this is the cookie pot full of Oreos. I like that. I'm going for that. And this is the cookie pot with oatmeal raisin. I'll pass on that one. Let's delegate that one to somebody else. Okay. So it definitely taught me that, and I think that was a great activity we did at the A's Academy. And to this day, I still remember it, and I still use it in my professional life as an executive manager and leader.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks for sharing that. It sounds like delegating when needed is a big time skill, and that correlates to so many different industries and so many different professions. So Justin, let's kick it over to you. You've had a very Delta Chi oriented career for the first part of it, and just done so much for Delta Chi as a professional, and still do with the foundation. So tell us a little bit about what you've seen and what you learned at A's Academy that kind of carried through. I feel like one of the big ones is going to be that don't have a bad attitude when you walk into stuff, is what it sounds like.
I had so much fun at A's Academy, I decided to work for Delta Chi for 9 years.
There it is.
One of the things I'll never forget is, if you've been there, you recall that you can't wear your hat in the cafeteria.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I was figuratively and literally wearing my cool cap when I showed up there. I think I was like one of 3 people who had a baseball cap on the whole time, just to let everybody know how cool I was. And I was also the person who got called out in front of everybody for wearing my hat in the cafeteria. And one of the things that I think organically happens there is you learn about professionalism and how to be vulnerable. And on the professional side, you're surrounded by all these different A's who may be better than you, may not be better than you, but you're also surrounded by people who work for the organization. You're surrounded by volunteers, and you're surrounded by higher education professionals from all these different universities as facilitators. And speaking for myself, I quickly learned a sense of professionalism that I obviously applied when working to Delta Chi, and I applied that to my university, and I applied that to situations that I necessarily wasn't the professional person prior to that. And the other thing about being the cool kid is that I learned to be vulnerable. I learned to open up, have conversations, be truthful. Not sit around and be like, oh, well, my chapters, we're fine. Like, we're good. We don't need this. When I started having conversations and opening up, that's when the magic happens. And the same went for my, the professional career. I held a lot of leadership roles in Delta Chi, and it would be silly of me to think that I could show up to the table and just be like, oh, well, I have all the answers. That's going to completely impact an entire organization of 100,000 plus members. So that vulnerability that happens organically there is brilliant, and it definitely aided me in a lot of my during my career with Delta Chi.
That's fantastic. And I do have to, I'm going to take a second here and I'm going to brag on Justin a little bit because Justin took on a role as executive director that many people would have shied away from in the fact that he followed Ray Galbraith after 32 years of service. At 32 or 33? 32, 33 years of service. That is a position that a lot of people would have shied away from. So Justin, thank you so much for following a great and actually improving a lot of functions and a lot of things, and did a fantastic job. So thank you so much for your service in that position.
Well, it definitely led to a significant amount of hair loss. So.
Don't worry, I'm beating you to it. No worries.
That's great. That's great. Well, I'm going to switch gears on you guys one more time. We're going to get a little bit away from A's Academy, but also kind of talk about our leadership development programs in a little bit more of a broader sense. Each and every one of you are past A. You're an A's Academy attendee. You've been volunteers. You've done so much for Delta Chi, and one of the main things that we have not touched on yet that you guys have also done, we've talked about how you've given your time, and we've talked about how you've given your talent. You've also all given your treasure. You've been so generous in giving to the Delta Chi Educational Foundation and giving to Delta Chi, whether it be through leadership development donations or just to the operational fund of the Delta Chi Educational Foundation. So I want to just hear a little bit from you guys about. Tell me just a little bit about what inspired you to give the first time and why you continue to give. And I'm gonna switch things up a little bit. I'm gonna jump over to you, Bruce. I want to hear it, man. I want to hear what inspired you to give that first gift, and what inspires you to continue to give. You've been so generous.
Well, when I got the letter, the price of oil was $150 a barrel. So that, no, I'm just joking. I had a lot of extra income. No, I grew up, my grandfather was a very successful, but also a very generous person. And he instilled in my father, instilled in me that you give back. I mean, that's just what you do, right? Because the treasures you have received is partially you, right? Certainly you have to work to earn it, but it's a whole lot of God's grace that helps give that to you. And so, you're obligated to give that back to the organizations that have made a difference in your life. And so, Delta Chi, it meant a lot to me. I had lifelong friends. I still have friends. And there's just this unique bond of being part of something bigger than just you. Me and Peter had a bunch of other brothers, and we're out having dinner. And, we start talking about Delta Chi and we start mentioning things, and, I give a response, and a guy who's a Delta Chi, Michigan State, graduated in 1955, gave the answer, and so those moments are like, I don't know him. He does. This is the first time we've met. And yet here's this bond we share. Here's this commonality that we have that nobody else in the world has. And that's just something amazing, and I think, that, again, that and adding up and being part of just, again, giving back to the organization and the people that made a difference. When I trust me, when I got the letter, to help give back to the Educational Foundation, there's no way I was giving that letter away. I look at what Delta Chi has helped me achieve, and it would just be plain selfish not to give something back, right? Something back. Your time, your talent, your treasure. To give something back to Delta Chi. So I think that's what it was for me, right? Knowing that it's certainly our duty and our responsibility. To give back to Delta Chi, because it helped all of us in some way to become who we are.
That's fantastic. Very well stated. Let's kick it out. I want to keep going in a little bit of a different direction here. So Justin, we're going to hit you up next and tell us. You've given throughout your career, but you've also given of your time as a staff member and that type of thing. But tell us what inspired you to give, and don't say it's because Claudia beat you up. When you were at HQ. That's not what I want to hear.
That's my answer. in all actuality, when one is able to see what the fraternity does for its membership, and I guess I should rewind. The foundation exists to support the fraternity, and the fraternity provides resources and different programming for its membership. Because the result is better chapters, better organization. You have better members. Your members are better equipped to handle various situations in college. They're better equipped to enter the workforce. They're better equipped to understand what it means to volunteer, to give back. And all that starts with a donation. I mean, I gave back because I want to make sure that I can support the foundation that is supporting everything that I just said. And that's what my money does. And, there's a lot of different things. The fraternity is always striving to either provide the programming for free or a very substantially reduced cost. And the reasoning for that is due to people, donating their money. And, we've all been there as undergrads. We don't have a lot of money. And to be able to, talking about A's Academy, to say, what, you're going to put me on a plane and fly me to another city? Well, not really a city. It's in the middle of nowhere. When you got
to land somewhere. So,
you got these like tall statues and staring at you and people in robes. You're like, what did I get myself into? But, they find you there. They put you in a bed. You're getting fed amazing meals cooked from scratch every single day. Wow. And then tons of treats at night to keep you up and having all those great conversations. All that is at no cost to the undergrads. And then the benefits that are provided to them, and they're able to go back to their chapters and do everything that we just discussed. That is why I give to the foundation.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks, Justin. I appreciate that. Let's kick it over to Brendan. I want you to, now these guys have put out two great responses. So we've really upped the ante on you got to bring it now and tell us why it's so important and why it's so important to you.
Sure. Look, I mean, there's a couple different ways that you can give back, right? And that's giving of your time, giving of your money, giving of something else. And I think that for me, there were always people along the way as I was beginning my career within Delta Chi as an associate member, and then as the F, and then on to the B and the A. And there were always those advisors who were there for me, giving of their time, their nights, their weekends, anytime I'd email them, the phone calls, the late night phone calls, and be like, hey, I have a disaster, please help. And I think that they were always giving of their money as well. In Los Angeles, the Los Angeles area alumni chapter has a Founders Day dinner every year. And the alumni always pay for the undergraduates' dinner. And a lot of the undergrads would not be able to attend the night if there wasn't an alum paying. And so I think that, you look at all of those various moments. Those were moments when every chapter in the Los Angeles area, along with 100 alumni from Delta Chi, are able to get together and celebrate once a year. And so I think that for me, I looked at all of those moments where someone helped me out when I was an undergraduate, and I always said to myself, hey, whenever I'm able to do that, whatever I'm able to give back to Delta Chi, I want to make sure that the undergraduates are able to have the same or a better experience than I had as an undergraduate. And so, I'm very lucky in that I have over the years been able to donate my time and donate my skills, and then also donate money to the fraternity. And I think that that's something that all of us should do. And it doesn't mean that we should sit there and everyone has to donate $100,000. It can be $10 here and there, but $10 from 50,000 Delta Chi alumni really can make a difference in the education and the lives of our undergrads. So I think that for me, people did it for me, and so I want to make sure that I'm able to do it for the undergrads that are coming through the system now.
But if you want to donate $100,000, send your email address to Peter Lang. I'd be more than happy to reach out to you.
We'll be happy to give you a call and chat with you about $100,000 gift.
Well,
Absolutely.
you give me a steak dinner, Peter?
Yeah. Yes.
If you give us $100,000, we're be happy to fly out and give you a one-on-one steak dinner.
That's it. That's it.
With Peter Lane and his bubbly self. So Pete, I'm gonna change it up on you just a little bit. So these guys have given some great reasons that they gave and why they continue to give. Give us a little bit of that. But what I really want you to kind of talk to us a little bit about is what we're doing this month. And what the Delta Chi Educational Foundation is doing, and what we're spotlighting the A's Academy obviously here. But tell us a little bit about what we're doing this month.
Yeah, so just to answer, why I give, and my first gift was back to the A's Academy. I remember Mike Martinez called me and said, "Would you be willing to match $1.25 for every A that we get to give to the 1890 Society?" And I said, "Sure." And so I ended up making a $50 donation. And that was my very first gift through the Delta Chi Educational Foundation. And since then, I've increased it. And I'm not in a position, or I work for nonprofit management for
Same, Pete. Same.
I can scour away, $80 a month. And that sort of thing, Brendan, to your point, many hands make light work, right? And if you look at the 1,500 A's that have been through this program, if you had a third of those guys giving $10 a month, you could generate $60,000 a year for this program to continue, and that would be a significant amount of money to go back into this program to help out. But it's not just the A's Academy, right? And I think that's kind of what you want me to kind of go into next here. This is a month of giving thanks, and it aligns perfectly with Thanksgiving in the month of November, and giving back, giving thanks and giving back. And Giving Tuesday is coming up at the end of the month. It's actually in December this year, and it's an opportunity to give back to an organization that means a lot to you. And we hope that the people watching think that Delta Chi is one of those organizations that's worth giving back to, and that it's your favorite. It's certainly my favorite. I think my university would probably be second. We're trying to highlight the leadership programs that Delta Chi fraternity has invested in our members and in our chapters. The A's Academy, the Emerging Leaders Academy, the Scoot Jackson Leadership College. That was around when we were all in school. I never went to it. Several people I know older than me went to that. And then UIFI, the Undergrad Interfraternity Institute. We sponsor scholarships for student members to attend that. And then leadership academies and programs that are yet to be developed. And so we're really going to be making a push this month and through the end of the year, and this will probably continue for people to support not just the A's Academy, but the Ray Galbraith Leadership Fund. Because the Ray Galbraith Leadership Fund is designed to help increase the capacity of leadership development programs for our fraternity and all future initiatives. So if you care about leadership, which I think most people do, I think most people would say, my experience in Delta Chi gave me a leadership opportunity that helped set me up for success in the workforce and gave me personal success in life. And to Bruce's point, it takes a village, right? It's not just your own efforts. You could say that you're proud, and you could wear Justin's cool cap and say it was just me. But it's not, right? It takes a village of people, and there's a lot of people that are giving their time and energy. And I'll say this, Steve Michaels was one of the key guys for this academy, and he was willing to put up $70,000 to make that first academy happen. Right. I remember getting that postcard, and I also remember being broke and thinking there's no way I can go to this until I found out it was paid for. Yeah. And finding out that it was paid for was a barrier-free opportunity for me to really advance myself and my chapter. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. But you know, to Brennan's point, someone invested in me. I want to continue to invest in someone else. The Delta Chi experience has been the best leadership and friendship and character building and education. I'll say this. There were times in college where I wasn't at my best, but I wanted to stay active in Delta Chi, and I had to meet my GPA requirements in order to do that. And so this surrounding yourself with people who want the best for you, that's a priceless experience. And so I want to do all I can to make sure that that continues. So this month is giving back and giving thanks, and we're highlighting the inaugural A's Academy here tonight with these fine gentlemen and these fine donors. Thank you to each of you.
Yeah, thank you guys for all you do. So we've been going on here for quite some time. Peter and I always like to say, why use a picture when you can use 1,000 words? I think we're a little over 1,000 as collectively here, but I think we really drove the point home. And I have to say, guys, as I mentioned at the beginning of this, I'm the old guy in this group, and I didn't get to experience the A's Academy. And I have to say, after hearing the skills that you guys brought into your careers and throughout your Delta Chi careers, I was checking boxes. I can work on that. I need to go to A's Academy. I need this help. I need to be able to do this stuff better. So I'm excited to share this information with the Delta Chi world and let them hear your voices and hear what it was like to be at the 2006 Inaugural A's Academy. And all this month, we're going to be bringing you some other stories surrounding A's Academy. We heard from Michael Marino. He's the current lead facilitator. We heard from him last week, and so we're going to kind of continue to bring some of those stories surrounding the A's Academy, because we're spotlighting the A's Academy, but we're talking about leadership development training in general. So if you have some time, please head over to deltachi.org/give and make a gift. We're also going to be putting out some information through email and some other things so you can see these stories. So Justin, Brendan, Bruce, Pete, thank you guys so much for your time today. Thank you for being such generous supporters of the foundation. Thank you for all you do for Delta Chi. From the bottom of my heart, from the bottom of the heart of the foundation, thank you guys for all you do. Have a great night, guys, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.